Okay, so now we're going to come and look back at our dashboards. We just saw some of these features that help us navigate. So let's actually look at what we can do from the dashboard itself. So as I mentioned earlier, this is an example of a CFO dashboard. We're looking at a number of dashboards during our presentation today, but this is one we're going to start on. So let's talk about some of the components we actually see on this dashboard that makes being able to view our data really easy. The top ones up here are what we call performance cards. And these personally are my favorite because what they do is they bring either one bit of information from the system or a group of information that is really relevant to you and puts it in one place, really big and bold, and allows you to compare it to another metric, such as prior year or prior month, or even versus a budget if you want to. So when we look at these different performance cards, we can see that it's a mixture of financial information and non-financial information. But when we're looking at these, we not only have that number there, we also can drill down into it. So when I drill down into that expenditures number, it gives me all of the expenditures for that period that make up the numbers that we're seeing on that dashboard up there. So then I can go from here and I can drill down even further from the dashboard and through the subledger and GL into the actual bill itself that's creating one of the transactions that's rolling up into that performance card. So that way, if I'm doing research, if I'm trying to clean up things for month end, year end, or audit, I can easily go to the transactions that might be causing our financials trouble and being able to edit them from there. So like an example, when we look at this bill, we're missing our documentation. So maybe there's an AP bill, a PDF or something I have from the vendor that I want to make sure I add on here as I'm getting ready for audit or other month-end activities. And so I can go ahead and drag that back up from my desktop or shared drive, put it in the attachment box here. And now I can view that backup whenever I want to by viewing this attachment, which will download that file and I can open it up and look at it. So it gives you easy access to backup documentation you have for each of your bills. Another feature within Sage Intacct, what we call Collaborate. This is really similar to a social media feed and can replace having to communicate via email or chat outside of the system. So in this case, maybe I want to let someone know that I actually added that attachment so someone doesn't have to try to go back and do it later. So I can go ahead and tag Carla Grace, who's my controller in this environment, let her know I added the documentation for this bill. So now I can go ahead and share that. And now this communication is, it stays with this transaction. And so when I tag Carla on this, she's actually going to get an email saying that I tagged her on a Collaborate comment, give her a link, and she can go directly to this transaction sheet my comment is. She can also then comment to it, like it, and even add files or other links to this social feed to be able to continue that conversation. And so once I'm done in here, I can go ahead and press post or submit to save that attachment, and then I can go back to my dashboard. So as I mentioned earlier, performance cards don't have to just be financial data. We can also track non-financial data, which we call statistical accounts. So those statistical accounts can be any non-financial piece of data that's really important to you. And I have a few examples here, such as blood units collected this month, and also blood units sold this month. So we can bring those into the system, compare them to prior months, have really obvious visualizations of this is if we're doing well or not. And then we can also use that data, such as these two different units, and then be able to create ratios. Or we can mix the statistical data with the financial data and be able to create the ratios that have that sort of financial numbers, such as the average cost per unit of blood. And so these make it really easy to see where you're at with your KPIs at any given time, because the dashboard is in real time, so it's updating. If someone does the transaction in the background and I run an update here, it's going to go ahead and update for that real-time transaction. There's no real delay in that. All right, so next on this dashboard, we're going to look at the approval workflows. So we're able to bring our approval workflows into the dashboard so we can easily view where we're at with our inbox when we log in for the day to see how many approvals might need to be done, where we're at with the approvals that have started, and go ahead and even finish the approvals from the dashboard. So we can take, for example, these purchasing approvals that are available. So these are purchase orders that were submitted by our requester, Philip Marlowe, and are ready for us to take a look at and see if they're ready to be posted into the system to be able to actually order that inventory. So I can go ahead and view it from here and take a look at it. Looks like it's missing an attachment, and maybe I need Philip to really add the attachment of why they need these different items for their inventory. So I can go ahead and press decline here and ask them to please add attachment, and go ahead and press decline. And so that's going to go back into a decline state, and Philip's going to see that he needs to edit that transaction, add what's required, and then resubmit it for approval. On the flip side, when something is able to be approved, let's say we're not going to worry about the attachment on this one and just look at the coding. Looks like, okay, these are fine. That's good coding, and the prices look right. We can go ahead and approve this transaction. Again, we can leave a comment if we want to, not necessarily required, and then press approve. And so now our approval workflow is empty, so we know we can move on with our next process for the day. And then once we refresh our dashboard, this would also refresh to show that it's also empty. We can also do different types of approvals. So there's not just purchasing, but there's also journal entries, payment approvals, which is like check printing, and then also AP bill approvals, which is similar to purchasing. They all work very similar. So if we look at the journal entries, we can see what journal entry Carla Grace submitted for approval. And that journal won't actually post until it's been approved. And then just like purchasing, we can decline it, go back to Carla, she can edit it, make changes, and then come back and resubmit it for approval. So next on the dashboards, let's take a look at these different graphs and reports we have. So Intacct has a plethora of graphs and reports that you can create and customize, really depending on what data is important to you to look at. We have a few examples here of some revenue graphs. We have some data broken out, not just by GL account, but also broken out by the different dimensions. So we can break out our revenues and expenses by our locations, by our departments, by our different sites that are located around different areas, and really be able to compare their financial and non-financial data by using those dimensional reports. So these are just some examples of those types of reporting that's available. What's also nice about these graphs and reports is that they are just like the performance cards, they're also drillable. So they come back up to this revenue graph here. When I click on the graph itself, it brings me to the list of what is actually the revenue numbers are based off the different revenue GL accounts or items that are available to post to. So I can easily see what my RBC revenue is compared to my platelets or plasma. And the same goes for being able to compare our actual numbers to our budget. So down here we have a report that allows us to see what our budget is compared to our actuals and what our remaining budget is for the year for those different numbers. And just like everywhere else, they're drillable all the way down to the transaction. These are some of the features that come with using dashboards within Sage Intacct. Overall, dashboards give users both high-level visibility into what's happening within the organization in real time and the ability to drill down and research specific items directly from the dashboard.